As humanity advances in science and in physics, our understanding of the Bible increases tremendously. Most people think that science doesn't prove the Bible, but I'm here to tell you that that isn't true at all. In fact, the more we learn about the nature of our reality, the more we find that what the Bible has been telling us for thousands of years has been true all along. So make sure you watch this video all the way to the end so you know exactly what I'm talking about. There are hundreds of ways that the Bible gives us subtle little hints that they may have known more about the nature of reality than what we thought they did. The one that sticks out to me the most is this one. Most of us, when we think of space, we think of it being as an empty vacuum. Otherwise, why would astronauts have to wear spacesuits to walk around in space? But it turns out that it's not empty at all. We know now that space is made up of a fabric called dark matter. Now, we don't know what it is, but we do know that it's there because our progression in mathematics. In fact, this dark matter that makes up the fabric of space can be warped, bent, stretched, and torn. And we know this because of advancements in studies like gravity and black holes. But there's no way that a document comprised of 66 different books and written by over 40 different people in thousands of years could know this before our scientists and physicists could know this today. Unless this document was inspired by a being of infinite knowledge that operates outside of time and space. That would be the only way that this would make sense. So where in the Bible does it speak of space being a fabric? Well, it turns out it's spoken of more times than you would think. Who alone stretches out the heavens? Job 9:8. Who stretches out the heavens like a curtain and spreads them like a tent to dwell in? Isaiah 40:12. Well, I'm sorry, but the last time I checked, a curtain and a tent was a fabric. So let's continue. Isaiah 64:1 says, the heavens were torn. Psalm 102:25 says that they are worn out like a garment. Hebrews 12:26 says that the heavens are shaken. 2 Peter 3:12 says that they are burnt up. Revelation 6:14 says that they are split apart. And Hebrews 1:12 says that the heavens were rolled up like a scroll. Which all these verses also allude to the fact that there are other dimensions. Because for something to be rolled up or stretched out, something from a higher dimension must be the one to do that, but that's a whole other video. Hey guys, in today's video we're going to be talking about the top 5 scientific proofs that the Bible is accurate, thus alluding to the fact that the Bible is actually divinely inspired. So let's dive right in. Number 5, the earth is round. Regardless of what flat earthers say, the Bible actually says that the earth is round. In Isaiah 40:22, it says that it is he who sits above the circle of the earth. This word circle is translated to kuth, which means to be spherical or a compass, alluding to the fact that the earth is actually round, not flat. It wasn't until hundreds of years later when Aristotle noticed that the ships were going over the horizon and by studying the eclipse of the moon that the earth was actually round. Who knows? If he would have read his Bible, maybe he would have saved hours of endless research, because the Bible revealed that earth was round hundreds of years earlier. In fact, this verse inspired Christopher Columbus to sail around the world. Number 4, DNA, life in the blood. In Leviticus 17:11, it says, "For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it to you upon the altar to make atonement for your souls." It wasn't until 120 years ago, when advancements in red blood cells and DNA was discovered, that yes, the life of the flesh is in the blood. Before then, doctors would bleed patients who were sick, thinking that it would only make them better, but in reality, it made them a lot sicker. See, nowadays, we give blood transfusions because we know that the life of the flesh is in fact in the blood. just like the Bible said thousands of years ago. Number 3, speech and radio and light waves. In Job 38 verse 35 it says, "Can you send out lightnings that they may go and say to you, 'Here we are'?" Hinting to the fact that light can manifest as speech. It wasn't until 120 years ago that we discovered that, yes, we could send messages in the form of light and radio waves instantaneously around the world. But the writer of Job knew this thousands of years ago. Number 2, the earth is suspended in space. In Job 26:7 it says that he hangs the earth on nothing. It was common belief that giant animals held the earth in space in the time of Isaiah. In fact, we didn't discover that the earth was hung on nothing until 1650. Somehow, Isaiah knew this between 740 and 680 BC. And finally, dinosaurs in the Bible. Job 40 verses 15 through 24 says, "Behold now, Behemoth, which I made with you. He eats grass like an ox. Lo now, his strength is in his loins, and his force is in his navel. He moves his tail like a cedar. The centers of his stones are wrapped together. His bones are as strong as pieces of brass. His bones are like bars of iron. He is the chief of all the ways of God. He who made him can make his sword approach unto him. Surely the mountains bring him forth food, where all the beasts of the field play. He lives under shady trees, in the comfort of the reeds and fens. The shady trees covered him with their shadows. The willows of his brook compass about him. Behold, he drinks up a river, and hastes not. He trusts that he can draw up the Jordan into his mouth. He takes it with his eyes, and his nose pierces through snares." Some commentators believe that this is speaking of the hippo, but it's clear that hippos do not have a tail like a cedar tree. Also, when it says that he can make his sword approach unto him, it's obviously talking about the extinction of these massive animals. If you are anything like me, you spend a lot of your free time searching for the truth. And it seems like the older I get, the more questions I have than answers about life. But it's important to know exactly where we can find the truth every time without fail. And the truth is that the Holy Bible provides us with 100% of the truth 100% of the time. And the reason we know this is because the complex interwoven intricacy in which God inspires every word, name, and number to be relevant to each book throughout the entire Bible. When you study this book in its entirety, you learn that each story, each parable, each prophecy, and each number has a specific meaning, and when observed, will teach you everything you need to know about life. Even the word Bible teaches us something. B is basic. I is instructions. B is before. L is leaving. And E is earth. Basic instructions before leaving earth. But let's look at another reason we know that the Bible is being influenced by a supreme being that operates outside of time. What other secret signature can we find that proves that the Holy Bible is divinely inspired and true? To do this, I'm going to first ask you to challenge the validity of the Bible by giving you a challenge to try and duplicate its integrity. I challenge you to create a genealogy of people, that is, mothers and fathers, and their sons and daughters, but the number of words must be divisible by 7 evenly. Can you do that? And the number of letters must also be divisible by 7 evenly. How about that one? You think you can do that? Well, hold on. I'm not done yet. The number of vowels and the number of consonants must also be divisible by 7. The number of words that begin with a vowel must be divisible by 7. And the number of words that begin with a consonant must be divisible by 7. Are you still with me? I have a feeling that some of you are losing heart of this assignment. Nevertheless, the number of words that occur more than once must be divisible by 7. The number of words that occur in more than one form must be divisible by 7. Don't go anywhere. I'm not done yet. The number of nouns must be divisible by 7. Only 7 words shall not be nouns. The number of names shall be divisible by 7, and only 7 other kinds of nouns are permitted. I'm almost there. The number of male names shall be divisible by 7, and the number of generations must be divisible by 7. This is the genealogy of Jesus Christ in Matthew 1 through 11 in Greek. Now you may be wondering what the significance of the number 7 is. Well, the number 7 is usually depicted in the Bible to be the number of completion. Thus, the genealogy in Matthew ends with Jesus. And what does Jesus say on the cross before he lifts his spirit up? It is finished. Hallelujah. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. So what does it mean to be created in the image of God? One would think by initial glance that this passage is speaking of physical appearance. But we learn later, in reading the context of the story of creation, that God works in certain attributes when he does what he does best, which is loving, creating things, and making something out of nothing. It is extremely important, though, that we approach this topic or question with a very humble mind and understand that we are not God, we will never become God, and not little gods ourselves. And to think so is to have the same train of thought that Lucifer had when he was casted out of heaven onto earth along with a third of the angels for rebellion against God by wanting to become God or little gods themselves. It's extremely important that we understand that because we're children of God doesn't mean we can become God. Although we should strive every day to become more like Jesus, the Messiah, his Son, we will always fall short of the perfection that he operated in. And if we can't become Jesus Christ, then how do we expect to become God or God-like ourselves? And now that we understand this, we can begin to look at the attributes that God operates in to see what the perfect image of God is and how we apply to that. In the book of Genesis 1:1, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. This gives us an attribute that we can look at. There is always a pure and direct intention behind any creation of God. He does nothing by accident. Now, let's look at the next passage and see which attributes we can find. Genesis 1:2. Now the earth was formless and void. Darkness was over the surface of the deep. The Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. This shows us that God is a loving Father, consciously thinking of how he can go about creating a place that will last for millions of years for his children to play, learn, worship, and love. The next passage, as we look in the book of creation, says this in Genesis 1:3. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And he saw that the light was good. So he separated the light from the darkness. This shows us two attributes. One, that God speaks the truth So much truth that when he speaks, it comes into existence. And 2, that God operates in complete discernment while at the same time establishing healthy boundaries. So now, are you beginning to understand more about the image of God? Let's recap. 1, that God is always pure and direct in his intentions. Number 2, God is love. And number 3, God speaks absolute truth. Number 4, God sets healthy boundaries while operating in discernment. So you see, it has nothing to do with physical appearance, but everything to do with attributes and characteristics and how we apply to that. But it's very important to read the word for yourself and see the attributes you apply to in the real image of God. Thank you for watching.